All right. It's an Audible edition, a Sunday special of the Audible. Kim Bokamper, Joe Rose with you. I missed you on Friday, so I had to catch up with you on Sunday.
Thanks for waiting for me. That's great.
We're in Carolina right now. The Dolphins have a Monday nighter against the Carolina Panthers. A very, very tough test for the Dolphins, Joe. You look at that good football team. Very, very good football team. So we'll get to talking about them a little bit. We're at the team hotel here. The Monday night crew is in, talking to the coaches, getting their production meeting out of the way, and it's kind of a who's who wandering around this lobby.
Yeah, no, it's been great so far. We got John Gruden running around in here. He's signing stuff. Jarvis Landry came by a minute or two ago and decided he's in a good mood. He wanted to get in on the entertainment. Yeah. I told him to come back in a few minutes.
Yeah, Susie Colbert
really
saw her. Always been a big fan of Susie Colbert.
The best. Everybody likes it.
It's a Palm Beach girl, right?
Yep. She's Susie's great. Yeah. I think she worked at NBC6.
I believe so.
In Miami. Yeah.
Hey, Joe, before we get to talking more about the program, if you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on Periscope, you can go ahead and send your questions. We'll get to your questions as we go through the program. But, Joe, I just can't go on without giving a shout-out to the University of Miami and that football team and Mark Richt and all that staff and Manny Diaz and every player on that football team, Joe. That you talk about a defensive effort by that team last night against a very good Notre Dame. Joe, quite frankly, I'd watched Notre Dame. I'd watched a lot of Notre Dame this year for whatever reason.
Right.
And they looked awesome the times I've seen them. Run the football. Wimbush running the football. 33, the running back running past everybody.
Crazy.
Big offensive line. And I thought, man, I know Miami's defense is better than it's been, but I don't know if they're going to be able to stand up against that kind of a football team. And not only did they stand up, they dominated that football team on the defensive side of the football. And then offensively, man, they just did whatever they had to put points on the board. And you talk about just a good game plan, solid from start to finish. And I think if you're a guy that's been questioning the University of Miami at all this year, you look at that game and say, hey, you know what? Last night, they were as good as anybody in college football team-wise, and it makes you feel very good about what they got going on for it. Now, they got Virginia coming up at home. They got to go to Pittsburgh to play the Panthers, and then they got that the ACC championship game.
Yeah.
But Joe, I was talking to Bob Greasy in the place, and man, I hope they don't overlook Virginia and Pitt getting ready for Clemson.
You're right.
Because look, certainly that's human nature, especially after a big win like that. After a big win against Virginia Tech the week before, it's kind of easy to overlook a team like Virginia and get yourself caught with your pants down, and you hope they don't do it. But boy, what a night! What a night for South Florida. What a night for Coral Gables. What a night for the University of Miami. And what a night for that football team. I mean, it was just vintage Miami.
You know, Bo, you said it to me when I saw you this morning. First thing is, what a great feeling for all of South Florida. Yeah. Best game and their biggest game in more than a decade to play the way they did and dominate. And I'm like you. I was shocked that they dominated. 4 takeaways, 5 sacks. Not a lot of yards. They were just outstanding defensively, the way they got after them. And
Joe, the speed of that defense.
The speed of that team is crazy good. Yeah,
and it's funny. It just seemed like I'm watching the game, and guy makes a play. Oh, there's a true freshman. Another guy makes a play. Oh, there's another true freshman. And you're looking, you go, oh, there's a sophomore there. And you're going, whoa, this team is stacked right now. And you look at what the future holds for this team. I mean, they're just loaded with big-time talent. Got another big recruiting class coming in, does Mark Richt. Right now he's in the top 5 in recruiting, maybe the top class in recruiting. And I'm certain, game like that last night didn't hurt the recruiting at all.
Bo, all those top recruits were I was watching all the live shots before, and I went, uh-oh. They got all the big 4- and 5-star from South Florida all at that game last night. That's a nice recruiting tool right there to play like that, and it was loud.
It's a little two-way recruiting tool, Joe, because first of all, those recruits go there and looking at what Miami did, and then if Miami's recruiting, some Notre Dame's recruiting some of those kids too.
It's true.
So it's a chance to go, wait a minute, I want to go to that, or do I want to go with it because look, quite frankly, and I still think Notre Dame's a very, very good football team, but it was plow horses against thoroughbreds
no question.
in that football game. And that South Florida kids, they like to play the thoroughbred game. They don't want to get in that plow horse game.
I don't know if they like that cold weather either once they go on that recruiting trip in Notre Dame. But, hey, it was great, Bo. Can't say enough about it. I'm glad you started with that.
And we got it now. Now's the opportunity for the Dolphins to try to cap off a very good football weekend with a game against the Carolina Panthers. And Joe would come up with the first question, Periscope Black Man game. Always coming strong, Black Man game. I was thinking about this the other night. This is what I'm doing at home. I'm thinking about my man Black Man
That's
game.
all right. You knew you're trying to stay on top of what he's going to ask.
He's either from Atlanta and lives in L.A. or he's from L.A. and lives in Atlanta. I forget which one of those, but he's always with us on here. What do we have to do to stop Cam Newton from beating us with his legs? It's funny because I was talking to some people this week, and whenever you play a guy like Cam Newton, you always get the guys that say we need to put a spy on him. I hate you take a guy out of your defense. Now you're playing with 10 guys against 11, and usually that spy can never keep up with that guy anyway. To me, if you want to stop Cam Newton from running, I think the pass rushers have to be very disciplined in their lanes.
Right.
You can't get pushed wide.
True.
I like the idea of running some games in the middle to create traffic. If they're blocking man-to-man, if they're blocking zone, you better
stay in your lane.
You better stay in your lanes and not get out of your lanes.
I
think that's the way you do it. But I prefer going with a disciplined pass rush that stays in their lanes, other than having some guy. Look, I think Miami had a guy last night spying Wimbush, and one of the plays he ran right by him.
Yeah,
put a
I
juke on
agree.
him, ran right by him.
Two good athletes in the open
that.
field, make it real hard on you. Bo, this big guy, man, you're talking 6'5", 245 pounds. He's one of the best running backs. One of the best running quarterbacks we've seen for a big guy because he can run you over. He can go around you. He's always falling forward. So really, they add another dimension to their running game, having him back there. And even though, Bo, he was banged up before the season started, he's still picking and choosing. He said he's gotten smarter. But a big weapon he has, he can still go get it.
Well, let's not forget, he's 2 years away from being the league MVP.
That's right.
And taking that team to a Super Bowl. Still a very, very, very good player. And Joe, the one thing I remember when I first saw Cam Newton when we came up here to play a couple years ago in the preseason, when I walked by him, I thought, man, that's a big dude right there.
Guy.
He's about 6'5", 6'6", about 250, and like you said, he can run, he can move, he can throw. There's not an aspect of his game that he can't, that he's not successful or good at. So that is going to be one of the huge tests that the Dolphins have against him. Then you had James Stewart, the running back, who's still got some game in him. You had Christian McCaffrey, a guy who can do a lot of different things in the coming out of the backfield as a pass catcher, out of the backfield. They can put him in the slot. They can do a lot of different things with him. So this is going to be a test for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I
agree.
agree.
It kind of blows on by to a Periscope question. Will McDonald make a difference in the D tomorrow? So we got Ted Larson coming back. He'll play the left guard for the Miami Dolphins. That will kick Jesse Davis out to the right tackle position, where Juwan James went on injured reserve yesterday. He's done for the season, and some people are questioning whether he's done with the Dolphins, but we'll see what the future holds. I still think he's a good player. I still think but it's going to come down to a money thing. But let's kind of get past that.
Yep.
And so you got those guys. That's what's happening in the offense, and defensively, you got T.J. McDonald coming back.
Looking forward to seeing him play.
Here is a guy that Joe, since the preseason ended, he's been salivating to get on that football field, and I expect him to come out and play like a man on fire tomorrow. I think having him come back in just adds more aggression to an already aggressive defense. And I think he provides a guy that can do a lot of different things for this team. I think you can get him up in the run game.
Yep.
I think you can blitz him and he's effective. Maybe not the greatest cover guy in the National Football League from the safety position, but boy, I look at those two guys back there, Rashad Jones and T.J. McDonald, and I like the way it looks.
Well, your support on both sides is going to be so good, and they both can play in the box. So I'm looking forward to – I think it's going to be an upgrade having him back there. Even he may have a little bit of a weakness in man-to-man coverage. We saw it in preseason a little bit. But I'm looking forward to getting him back in there. He's 225 pounds. Another big safety back there. Only going to help the running game. And we got to get a pass rush, Bo. Stop the run, get a pass rush, and cover guys. And then on the other side of the ball is going to be the big problem for the Miami Dolphins.
I mean, you look at that defense. First of all, you got Paul Posluszny, maybe certainly one of the top linebackers in the National Football League. All he does is make plays. Thomas Davis, the other linebacker, and then they're a pressure football team. And Joe, you mentioned to me, number one defense in the league, number two in sacks, number two versus the run, and so as much as the defense has their hands full this offense may have their hands a little bit more full and have a little bit more difficult time against these guys.
And you left out Kuechly, who might be.
I'm sorry, Kuechly. I don't
no,
know.
no. That's
all
right.
I always get Puzzlesny and Kuechly.
I was going to let that go.
No.
But no, Kuechly, Kuechly has been. My only problem with Keeley's had so many concussions, but when he doesn't have concussion problems, that guy is a tackling machine, gets interceptions, just a very smart player.
And you know, a smart player, and this is a kid that did he lives and breathes for playing football. He's one of those kind of guys. So, it's going to be an all-out test for this team. Devin Funchess is better. They got, I think, Curtis Samuel. They got him back. He's healthy again, playing, so they're wide receivers. The one thing I guess you look at if you feel good about it, they don't have Greg Olsen, so you don't have him running down the field.
No, you don't have Greg Olsen.
With he had with Jared Cook last week against the Raiders. And Joe, that's the one thing that's the one thing that really concerned me defensively last week, and it's going to concern me again tomorrow night until we see them. They've got to be much better in 3rd and long, Joe. They played so good against the run last week, got them in 3rd and long early on, but just couldn't keep them from converting third downs.
Couldn't get enough good enough pass rush, and didn't cover well enough. The coverage wasn't tight enough. I totally agree, and it was a problem that ended up costing the Dolphins the game because they couldn't get enough stops. But, yeah, Bo, I just look at this team right now, and defensively we put a lot of pressure because our offense struggles so much that those guys have to play great. Bo, these guys on offense can have scored some points.
Yep, no doubt. Let's go on here. Courtney, NJ11, with the Bills and Jets losing, is this the opportunity for the Dolphins to win tomorrow? Look, quite frankly, Joe, I think the Dolphins have to worry about themselves. Yeah. I don't think they can be looking at standings right now. A long way to go. I think when you look at the Dolphins, I said this earlier this week, they've got 8 games to play beginning tomorrow night. Somehow, some way, they've got to carve out at least 5 wins out of these next 8 games if they want a chance. Because you look at the AFC, you look at the way things are going, there's a good chance this may be a year where a 9-7 team makes their way into the team as a wild card. So at minimum, trying to carve out 5 wins on these last 8 games. You got New England twice, you got Buffalo twice, you've got Kansas City, you got this team in Carolina tomorrow, you've got
Tampa Bay and Denver.
And Denver.
Right.
So it's not an easy task by any stretch.
No, you got tough games.
But Joe, you got to feel like if the Dolphins can come away with a win tomorrow, they steal one. You come away with a win tomorrow, and look. We both agree. I think most everybody agreed that watched the game last week. They played well enough to win that football game.
Yeah.
No question. But you can't shoot yourself in the foot, and you can't do that against this team on the road and expect to come away with a win.
No, I agree. And, Bo, you go back a week ago, not to look at the game from last week, but the Dolphins are down 4 and get and Ndamukong Suh gets a turnover, gives you great field position. They get a stop. No points, Bo.
Yep.
And it's just you get great field position. You got to score, especially at home, and Dolphins didn't do it, and I agree with you. You get a win up here in Carolina. They're 9-point underdogs in this game. Boy, this would be a huge win. And listen, if they play well, they're going to have a chance. But if they can't block up front, pass protection is going to have to be good. By the way, nobody's talked about how good Jay Cutler's
played
been.
well, very well.
Jay Cutler was great. I mean, that's the best game he's played in a long, long time.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little more of that. I like when he's stepping forward, Joe. I like when he gets out of the pocket. I like when he's stepping forward because that ball always comes out with velocity.
Great.
It comes to the guys. And you know, the other thing, Joe, I mean, we saw the tight ends become a bigger part of the game. Julius Thomas, 6 catches.
Had his best
in
game.
The game. Had his
best game.
And I think when that tight end, whether it's Julius, whether it's Anthony Fasson, or whether it's Marquise Gray, if those tight ends are catching footballs and working the middle of the field, I think it just makes this offense better.
Well, I think one of the reasons Julius Thomas was so open, I think they were shocked. I think really, like, they don't throw to their tight ends, and all of a sudden, 3 of his catches, he's wide open. Nobody's around him. So, hey, hopefully they got a key on him that's going to free up. We still got to get more out of 2 of the guys on the outside than we're getting right now besides just Jarvis Landry.
We got a big play from Devontae Parker late in the game, and it's another one of those you go, ooh, now, you know, you like that.
Well, but
you got to see more.
Yeah,
well,
it's like,
that's exactly it.
Wow, what a catch.
You got to see more consistent, more of those types of things. And Joe, a little bit surprised last week, and Coach talked about it in his press conference. Hey, they were playing too deep. They're giving you the underneath. That's why they had success with the running backs and the tight ends underneath. But, Joe, this team's got to find a way to get back to hitting a home run ball every now and then.
Haven't had one.
You can't, as a defensive player, the theory that we always played under was, hey, just don't give up the big play. Make them drive their way down the field. The more plays, more times they snap the ball, more chances they have of making a mistake, the more chances we have of capitalizing on that mistake. And if you look at long drives, unless they end up in a touchdown, usually they're going to end in a turnover some way.
Well, I just look at this offense, and it's probably there have been some disappointing parts to it. But a year ago, we were full of big plays every game. Kenny Stills, Devontae Parker, the J Train. J-Jaw was breaking long runs. We haven't had any of them. Nothing at all. And we got to get back to him, Bo. I'll give you another stat to be Sammy Stathead here tonight. 0 touchdowns
from
running.
Game,
That's hard to
hard to believe.
Hard to imagine. It's got to be some kind of record halfway through the season, and not one rushing touchdown from anybody, including a quarterback.
Joe, let me ask you this: you satisfied with what you got? Because I'm looking at the running back position. You get Jay Ajayi goes to Philadelphia. You get your first game without Jay Ajayi, and I believe you got 165 yards total offense
from
those two guys. And I think that's kind of the way you have to look at the running backs position now. Instead of saying, hey, how many yards did Jay get? Hey, how many yards did we get combined, rushing and passing, out of the two running backs? Because it's going to be running back by committee from here going forward. And those guys have to produce, whether it's catching the football or running the football, but you got to get 150-plus yards out of those two guys, I think, for this offense to be where you want to be.
Bo, the one thing about both those guys that's an upgrade over Jay Ajayi is catching the rock on first. You can throw it on first and second down. They can do check downs. They can run out in the flats. They can catch everything, and they can break some tackles. So there's going to be some mismatches, especially on early downs where you're playing against run linebackers, not pass coverage linebackers. So I think it could be something that our coach, Adam Gase, will continue to try to attack.
Joe, this is the third straight game that this team has played under the lights, prime time.
Right.
It shouldn't be an issue for them. Monday night, always a little bit different because it's a standalone. You're the only game in town.
Yeah, you're not flat.
Everyone's going to be watching.
No.
And they've got to come out and Joe, we've been saying. I got to believe that I've said it almost every single game this year. They got to get some points early. They got to get out in front of somebody early.
I agree.
They can't be playing catch up. Even if you're down 3-0, you're still coming from behind. They got to find a way to get ahead of somebody, and they got to find a way to stretch that when they get ahead.
Yeah, well, you're talking about them being shut out in the first quarter again last week, and getting off to a better start and getting things going and getting out of field position. I want to win the field position battle too. Get some first downs, get them back, make the other team. Give your defense a little bit of a break. Make somebody play on a long field against your defense. Seems like the Dolphins' offense is constantly the one that's playing on the long field.
I've had a lot of people ask me on the program during the course of the week, Joe. The penalties certainly were the Achilles heel of this team last week. They've been a problem on this team really for quite a while, taking away big plays from stupid penalties. And look, I'll give you this. Some of the penalties that were called last week, very highly questionable.
Rashad Jones was terrible.
Rashad Jones sticks out like
a sore
thumb.
Officials should get suspended for that. That was terrible.
Yeah, but they've got to find a way. It's an old line. It's hard enough to beat your opponent without having to beat yourself first. And so the question is, Joe, how do you resolve that mid-season for this team?
Well, I just think you got to keep going back. Because this is all you can do. This is your team. This is your group offensive lineman.
Right.
You only got 7 or 8 guys there. Bo, they just got to get technique.
Yeah.
You got to get in better position, not get manhandled, want to tackle guys and put your arms around them and everything else. But the sad part about what happened last week, when you look back at the game against the Raiders, they probably lost 70 or 80 yards in offensive plays that got called back, including Damian Williams' long run. It would have set you up to maybe take the lead in that game.
Yeah, and there were drive killers. You got to drive going. You can't overcome them. You sit there. You got a first or you got a second and 8. You go for 15 yards penalty. Take that 15 yards off. Go 10 or 15 yards back. And you
second and 20, second and 15. You can't do it, Bo.
Anyway, Black Man Game coming back in from Alabama, lives in L.A. I knew it was one of the
what a combination.
One way or the other.
Alabama to L.A.
And he's a Dolphin fan.
How about that?
And a Miami fan.
Nice to have him.
I think he's living when he was in Alabama, and he was all around by all those Alabama fans. and he's a Canes fan. So, Periscope, how do you think Jesse Davis will do filling in for James? Well, he better do well, because I think he's going to see a little Julius Peppers coming at him a good amount of times, because Julius will line him up over on that side. I think Julius will move him to eat one side or the other. And here's a guy that knows how to pass rush. He's been doing it for a long time and been very successful doing it. Now, Jesse Davis is a guy that's played virtually every position from college and through the pros. So he's going to have to step out there and man up, Joe. Big guy, strong guy. Once he gets his hands on you, it's tough to get past him, but he's got to do that.
Got to slide those feet.
And his technique, he's got to get out of that. The big thing is he's got 1 week to get out of that guard feeling, to get to that tackle
Jesse.
feeling, getting a kick back and getting some depth back there with those guys coming at him.
Welcome to the National Football League. A left guard, now a right tackle. That's how you play in this league. And so he had a week basically. I will say this, though, Bo. There was talk before the year that they liked him potentially as a right tackle. They think that might be his best position.
Yep, no doubt. Hey, Joe, the other thing I think when you look at this football team, and, there's no better evidence than last night watching that game against the University of Miami. This team needs to get some turnovers. They need to turn the football over. They need to get a short field for this offense. They've got to give this team some, something to jump on and give them some momentum, something to feel good about, something to get jacked up and kind of quiet that crowd, because you can bet that crowd's going to be they're going to be like, what are they, 6-2? 6-2, 7-3,
6-3. I think they're 6-3 right now. They played one more than we have.
They're a football team. They're a football team in a town that remembers this team being in the Super Bowl not too long ago. Look at where they're at right now, thinking they're going to get back there.
That's
right. They got a chance to get back there again. So it's not going to be an easy place to play.
Bo, I just look, and you're right. You got to get some takeaways. You talk about University of Miami. They're getting four takeaways every game. You got to get them. And so far, the Dolphins are sitting there with 3 interceptions. Rashad's got 2 of them on the season. They need to get more takeaways, and it will help. And field position and those type of things. A lot of those numbers, Bo, that are important haven't happened so far in this football team. You talk about big plays. You talk about takeaways. Not enough plays to play championship football.
Let's wrap it up with Kenneth Santabria. The Dolphins special teams need to be stronger. Really, you look back in 2 weeks ago, the special teams really didn't help this football team. But look, Parkey kicks another long field goal last week, missed the extra point. But he's been pretty good with you.
Well, my big concern's the return game. We're getting nothing. We haven't. Last year we got spoiled. We had some touchdowns both in the punt and the kickoff return. This year, nothing.
Yep. So it's all part of it.
Got to get it. Got to get it.
I think. Look, I think there's. Joe, I think when I look at this game, offense, defense, special teams, this has got to be the week that everything comes together and they play their best game in every aspect of the game. I think that's what they need to get this get this game.
Rest it up.
Back
Let's go.
Go home. Take a long ride home.
Lose.
What time we get back again? Like 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh my goodness, man.
3 the airport, probably 3:34 back to Davie.
You can go right into work.
Go right into work. Grab a big coffee and go to work, man.
All right, that's going to do it for this Sunday special edition of the Audible.
Thanks for inviting me, man. You never invite me to the hotel when we have these things, so thank you.
Look at Leon. Saying now you're
I
going to
never get a chance. Think about this, man. Here
Leon.
we are in a hotel before I go have a couple ice-cold beers,
let me show you what
and
Leon
we're
did.
talking
Let me show
football.
you what Leon did. He pointed at you and went, are you going to go out and get sauced up tonight?
I'm going to get.
Coach, you think he's going to go out and have a couple drinks tonight?
This is a Saturday night, isn't it? It's a Sunday night, but it's really a Saturday night.
It's like a Saturday night.
My wife
That's
asked me last
night,
you want to have a few drinks? I go, no, my Saturday night's tomorrow night.
All right. That's going to do it for the Audible. We'll be back again. When are we back in, Leon? Tuesday? Wednesday. We got no show. We got a Wednesday. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday. So, Cup of Joe tomorrow. I might have to jump in and have a Cup of Joe with you tomorrow, Joe.
You know what? It's going to be nice and cold out there. I'd
Beautiful.
love to have you out there.
Beautiful.
That would be nice.
All right,
I'd love to see you.
That's going to do it. We'll see you next time.